Thank you for the opportunity of being able to speak to you today. My name is Ken Moroney and I'm a community representative on the RPA Institute of Academic Medicine. And it's in that capacity that I'm able to speak to you about the work not only of RPA Hospital, but importantly, the work of the Institute. My personal involvement with RPA Hospital goes back to when I was 5 years of age, almost 75 plus years ago. I came here to this hospital having fallen through a window, and I was treated by a doctor. And so variously over that intervening period of time, I've attended this hospital. I've seen it grow, not only in terms of its physical size, its structural size, but as important in terms of the level of medical services that it provides from its clinicians, its researchers, to its medical practitioners and nursing staff. And ultimately, this is part of the important work of the Institute of Academic Medicine, and notably the work undertaken by its clinicians, those people who are, in one sense, at the front line of medical research, where we as consumers of those services ultimately are the beneficiaries of research and of good practice. And it's in that regard then I want to focus particularly on the issue of that continuum of care that begins with the work of the clinician, the researchers, through the delivery of medical practice by medical staff, doctors, surgeons and nurses. It's a continuum of care from the point of beginning where an issue, a medical issue comes to notice that is worthy of research, is developed and then implemented in terms of the ultimate care and well-being of all patients. So beyond the importance then of the research component is the initiation, the consultation that goes on with your medical practitioner. There may well be an element of testing associated with preparing a diagnosis and a treatment plan. And that's critically important because that's part of the process that needs to be involved in ultimately providing a beneficial outcome for the issue which has brought you to RPA Hospital or to a medical practice seeking help. Beyond that body of work, which begins with the importance of research and research involvement, and through that continuum of care is the issue of the treatment and the delivery of a treatment plan, and importantly, the physical and psychological recovery from the medical episode that has brought you seeking attention and to rehabilitation and ideally a return to a healthy and happy life. When we reflect on the issue of the importance of clinical research, medical practice, the delivery of a range of medical services, the key issues that I think are important, that I've certainly observed to be important to me, not only as a customer representative or a consumer representative on the Institute of Academic Medicine, but simply as a patient of this hospital, is about the importance of engagement. It's about the importance of providing a benefit, not only a physical or a psychological benefit to the patient, but all of that is founded on three key pillars, I believe: trust, respect, and reassurance. And that begins back at the early days of developing an issue through clinical research, testing by appropriate qualified supervisors, through the delivery of medical practice and ultimately one's recovery. And I know that to be a fact. My most recent personal experience involved me consulting a surgeon at the end of which he said to me, "I'd like you now to consider the proposed surgery and think about the options and come back to me in about a week." And my instant reply, and it was that, my instant reply was simply, "I don't need to think about it. I've heard what you've had to say. I've heard how you've described the proposed surgery and the alternatives to not having surgery. Importantly, I saw the benefit. I felt that he and I were engaged. I believe I had a level of trust in him. I respected his professional opinion and I was reassured. And through those qualities, I then made the decision to proceed with the surgery. Ultimately, the day of the surgery came, and as you know, for those who've been down that path, when you're in that small anteroom outside the operating theatre, the surgeon came to me and whimsically just said, you know, it's not too late to change your mind. Now, it was a bit of a tongue-in-cheek comment, but it was his way of, again, reassuring me, again, strengthening the bond of trust and respect that was built between us. The surgery proceeded and the surgery was successful. All of that, of course, begins back some time before, where somebody took an interest in this particular issue involving my medical history, a researcher, a clinician who ultimately worked tireless, endless hours to get to a point where a surgeon was able to deliver this element of medical practice. And ultimately, that is that continuum, that long journey, that path, that from clinician to surgeon, medical practitioner, and ultimately you, the patient, ultimately are the beneficiaries of. Thank you for the opportunity of being able to present to you. Let me just simply end where I began. The work of the Institute of Academic Medicine here at RPA Hospital does provide a level of reassurance, and as a member of that board, I feel confident in the direction that the hospital is taking, particularly in relation to research, emphasising the importance of research and how that all ultimately translate into better medical practices for all of us.